Join me, artist, in this lesson called Pastels at Sea. I am happy to be home from our Caribbean cruise, and I was also happy to get to do some painting on the cruise, along with my daughter-in-law here doing some watercolor. And just so you know, there is a painting tutorial attached to this. I just want to share a little bit about our trip before I start the tutorial. My husband and I took our son and daughter-in-law on a Caribbean cruise. It was so fantastic and a much-needed break. We cruised out of Cape Canaveral, Florida, a great port to cruise out of. It was just really flawless and seamless. We went to multiple Caribbean islands, and as you can tell from these pictures, we just had so much fun. And my daughter-in-law and son are two of the sweetest people on earth. By far, our favorite place to visit was Jamaica. The beach was great, of course, but we loved the mountains. Here's my son being a monkey like he used to when he was a kid. And the people were fantastic. We fell in love with the people of Jamaica. And I just felt so blessed to be able to experience this literal paradise on earth. It was like God just blessed the whole trip. It was awesome. And it was also amazing to be able to do some painting while on the cruise ship. Now, I've done this before, and I like to share some of my tips. And one thing I suggest is to find a location where you're not going to have to talk to people every time they walk by. I found this awesome large table to work at, and it was nice. It was near the ice cream machine. A product that I love to take with me when I'm painting on the go is my Heilman box. Now, if you're a patron of mine on my Patreon page, you have a longer version of this video where I go into more of my setup, and the painting tutorial is real time on my Patreon page. I also have over on my Patreon page my pre-cruise, cruising and painting, how to pack for painting on the go video, where I show you everything in my bag, which is really helpful for artists who haven't traveled before and painted. Before we get into the painting tutorial, let me tell you real quickly how to become a patron. It is very affordable. It's only $5 a month. You can cancel at any time. You unlock hundreds of videos, but the part I love the most is you get to share your work. I get to see your work. It's a wonderful family. I'll have a link in the top right corner here and also in the description of this video. I preloaded some reference images on my iPad, and one thing you want to make sure you do is have some reference material, because often Wi-Fi is sketchy on a cruise ship. I loved this reference image from unsplash.com. I probably should have done some sort of Caribbean scene, but if you followed me, you know I love fields of flowers and purple. I'm going to apologize on the front end for getting my big head in the way for just the first part of this. I don't have my camera set the way I do in my studio, and often you don't figure these things out until after you're done filming. But here I'm just getting in a light sketch. It's a light pencil anyway, so you can't really see what I'm doing. So just get you in a general sketch. And the next thing I'm going to be doing is the underpainting. Here I've jumped ahead just to show you the colors that I used for the underpainting. You could really use three colors: a red that's a little darker, an orange, a middle value, and a golden color for a light value. Here's my big head again. And the surface I'm using, by the way, is one of my new favorite surfaces. It's Canson Velvet, and it receives water or alcohol beautifully, but I wanted to tone it. That was a lot of a cream or light color there, and I really wanted some warmth coming through this painting with all of those greens and the blue in the sky. So I am speeding this part up here because my head gets in the way so much, but you get the general idea. I'm getting in my darkest values first using the red, and just so you know, I'm speeding this up because of the camera angle, but the rest of this video after the underpainting is all real time. So you're just going to have to deal with my crazy hair getting in the way. And so you can see I've just made like a path with the red, kind of like the dark areas that I'm seeing. And then I'm going to work on my middle values. You saw at the beginning, I have 5 colors. One was a darker red, and then the next one is a little bit lighter red and a little bit warmer. And as you'll notice, my camera keeps trying to focus on my head, which keeps coming in and out of the scene. And just so you know, if you ever want to avoid that, you can do a lock screen, which I did not do here. I should have done it. Again, I was cruising. I wasn't in my studio. So hopefully you can see through the blur. So I was using this warmer, a little bit lighter red, just for some of my other dark values, my second level of trees in the distance, and a little bit of the darker elements that were in the grasses. And all of this, by the way, when I get done, I'm going to use some alcohol to do a wet liquefying of this. And I actually have a little spritzer bottle that I use to do that. You'll see that soon. And now I'm using one of the orange values. Again, you could just use 3 total values for this. You could use a red for all of the red I put down at the beginning. You could use an orange for these middle values that I'm getting in, which is kind of the land. Basically, if you've watched many of my tutorials, you know land kind of flattens out in the distance like a blanket. But this orange is representing some of the lighter areas of the land and some of the areas of the sky just up high. Sometimes the sky gets a little bit, almost always, it gets a little darker as it goes up towards the heavens. So I'm getting in a little bit of that and scumbling in a little bit more of this orange throughout some of the grasses. And the term for this is blocking in. You can do it with an underpainting or when you're just starting a painting, you can block in. You don't always have to do an underpainting, but I just love getting a vibrant glow beneath. Now this is my second orange, which is just a little lighter than the first one, and I'm getting a little bit of this in where the sky's coming down a little, and then that little sliver of the distant field. And I'm reserving my yellow, my lightest value for the sky. And you could totally just do the sky only in yellow. I don't know what I was doing there with my finger. By the way, my daughter-in-law is a fantastic watercolor artist. She's just one of those people. She's from Romania. Some of you may have heard. I know I have some patrons from Romania. Hi, Alexandra. I know that that's the beautiful country you're from. But she's just one of those people that she can just kind of do everything. And she's so humble about it too. So you can see I got in my yellow for the sky, and now I'm ready to liquefy this underpainting. By the way, I brought something back with me from my cruise other than just gifts, and it was a cold. So you probably hear that in my voice, but it's not so bad. I think I'll be fine soon. Well, it's kind of to be expected with like 4,000 people or more on the ship. I first thought I would use water to liquefy this underpainting, and I decided that I think I'm going to use this alcohol. I had brought it in a little spritzer bottle. That's not like Victoria's Secret body spray. It's actually just some alcohol, 70% alcohol in a bottle. Now, the reason I chose the alcohol is I don't have my blow dryer with me. I don't want to wait for this to dry. I want to paint pretty quickly after I apply this and liquefy this. So I knew the alcohol would dry fast, and boy, did it dry fast. It was, it wasn't. The weather was perfect on this cruise because, in the month of March, it's usually very mild, but it was breezy and it was just beautiful. And but it still would have taken longer to dry if I had used the water. And by the way, I used water on the second painting, which I'll be sharing that one as well. So I sped this up just because I think you can get the idea. I keep moving the painting to spray the alcohol. I didn't want it spraying all over the table, so I kind of moved it. So here I am with my underpainting that is dry. And you can see, look at all those people at the ice cream station. Isn't that crazy? You're going to see a lot of people coming and going here. I must also share here that one of the things that was so great for me was to get out of my studio. I don't get out much. I know that sounds funny, but painting on a cruise ship is awesome. As I mentioned, this is the speed version. The full real-time version is over on my Patreon page, but I do love to share content for free here on the Monet Cafe YouTube channel. Look at the people in that ice cream line. Oh my gosh, I was so into my painting, I didn't notice how many people were getting that yummy ice cream. And you can see here, I'm just doing my layering, and I'm going to talk in general about painting versus trying to cover everything I'm doing since it is a speed version. But as you can see, it's a process of layering with soft pastels. Soft pastels are an opaque medium, meaning you can layer light over dark. I did miss a little footage there, as you can tell. I don't know, I just didn't have my camera on or something. But I start with my darkest layers, then gradually work in my middle values and my light values. The sky is always the lightest thing in a landscape, and almost always. And now I'm just getting in a little bit of lavender down at the lower part of the sky. I thought that would echo the color of the lavender in this field. And I'm going to now start working on some of these flowers. Now, I didn't try to represent the flowers all exactly as they were. I talk about this a lot over on the Patreon version of this, about how if you're striving to have a more impressionistic style versus painting everything you see, It's often about, well, it's almost always about not painting everything, avoiding so much detail, and just choose the elements that really drew you to the image in the first place. And for me, it was these gorgeous flowers, magenta and purple. And I always feel that it's best to have your painting tell a story. Tell a story of what you find beautiful in the painting. And I also like to try to keep a dreamy, romantic, very loose style. And another thing that helps with that is to work the whole. If you get stuck on one little area and you work it to death, that's just really gonna steal your looseness. And it is definitely best to work the whole. So I added a little bit more light to the sky and the distant field. I'm finally adding some of my lightest lights on these flowers, a few more light marks in the grasses. And another thing I recommend is to stop, is to not overwork your painting. Stop, take a break, and come back and look at it later with fresh eyes. And a lot of artists talk about overworking their paintings. I do that too sometimes. And one thing that helped me not do it on this cruise is the rocking of the boat and the wind sometimes would kick up, and it did in this case. It got to where I could barely paint. So I packed it up and brought it home. I haven't even done any more to this, but I really did like the loose feeling. Now, it was a little dark in this area where I was working, so when I got home, I took it outside and took a picture of it in the bright sunshine. The underpainting was still showing quite a bit in the foreground, so I am going to add a little bit more of some grasses and a bit just to cover it up. But I really do like this loose, very dreamy feel. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. And if you're a patron of mine, I cannot wait to see what you do. Like I mentioned, that's one thing I love about my Patreon page is I get to see your work. And I have something called a homework album where my patrons share their paintings, and I do a homework album review every month. It's such a beautiful place. All right, everyone, as always, God bless and happy painting.